And we're back with Shades of Green talk show on KDWN 720 AM, and I'm your host, Paul Ira. And we're talking with Stan Hannell today about electric vehicles. We're going to let Stan talk a little bit about what he knows about the past of electric vehicles, why we have electric vehicles, and what's the future of electric vehicles. Stan, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Paul. Thank you so much and for the opportunity to be on the show here as well. Definitely, electric vehicles have been around more than 100 years. They were actually a preferred car during the turn of the last century. They came out of electric motors and things that were available. At that time, you basically had a competition between electric cars, gasoline engines, and even steam-powered vehicles as well. So basically, what was interesting at that time, I like to tell a story that Henry Ford's wife, Clara, actually preferred her electric cars to the noisy gasoline cars that her husband basically pioneered and invented. And so there were several attempts during that time to try and push the electric car technology forward with the help of Thomas Alva Edison and to develop a better nickel iron battery, but the battery was always kind of the stumbling block for the electric car. Nowadays, we have something called a lithium-ion battery that has a capacity of 3 to 4 times a typical lead-acid battery that you see as an auxiliary battery in a normal car. So that's given us, as about 20 years ago, kind of a push forward in the technology to store energy. And so, as Chris was saying, it really makes for our state of Nevada here, it's really a neat complement to solar power. If we can produce solar energy and store it, whether it's in a mobile platform like a electric vehicle or a stationary battery pack, that gives us a lot of flexibility in being able to use our resources both during the day and also at night when maybe the sun isn't shining or renewable resources aren't available. So the storage capability drives the car forward. The other thing, when you're using electric motors, you have this benefit. We should call them electromagnetic motors. So basically, when you put electric current through a winding in a motor, it creates a magnetic field. And if you've ever tried to push two magnets together with opposite fields, you can try and you know how powerful that force is. So basically, you get this huge torque when you first press on the pedal of an electric car, and you get instantaneous torque right off the line. And so I was talking about these Electric Auto Association chapters around the country. Some of the guys started a National Electric Drag Racing Association back in the 90s, and they started playing around with lithium-ion batteries, and they were just pulling they didn't know where to get them, so they would take apart Black & Decker power tools and strip the batteries out and make battery packs out of those. And they found out that they were getting huge performance now. They'd take forklift motors and put 2 of them together and make what they call a Siamese motor. And then they were even doing fancy things with switching where they could basically put the 2 motors in parallel to get a lot of current out of them, and then when you got midway down a drag race track, switch them so they were in series, so you get more speed out of them. So basically what we're finding is with electric drivetrain, you could basically beat the pants off of a gasoline car, and this was back in the 90s. So we saw the potential of that, and and the fact that electric cars had been around 100 years ago, and there was proven technology, and they're quiet, and there's a lot of benefits to it. That has kind of kept this movement going. It was kind of underground for a while. We like to think we were the lunatic fringe for a while. All these they were calling people amp heads instead of gearheads. They're kind of into using huge amounts of high voltage to make these motors go faster and just pushing the limit, blowing up a lot of motors and battery packs along the way. So anyway, it's been a kind of evolutionary thing, a lot of kind of wild and crazy inventiveness. But some of the people that are now with Tesla Motors, J.B. Straubel, their CTO, and some other folks came out of that movement and saw the potential and are actually now creating the next generation of electric cars that are just blowing people away. So and the other thing that was really neat is we got to as I said, the CES show happened last week, and you really got to see the next generation of electric vehicles coming down the pipe. There are several forces driving electric cars. You would think that because gasoline is so cheap that now that basically you would see kind of electric cars kind of fading away and the demand going away. But there's a big driver in China. They want to basically push electric cars as a government policy and are putting a lot of money into it. Also, the Chinese automotive market is larger than the U.S. market. Last year, they sold 25.4 million vehicles within China. We sold 17.5 within the U.S. So, they are now the primary automotive market that all the other worldwide manufacturers are trying to satisfy, to fulfill. And in China itself, they have about 100 different automotive companies, with about 20 of them focused on electric cars.
Wow.
So it's going beyond what the U.S. no longer really dictates the automotive market. And so you saw that at this year's CES. Toyota had and the other thing that's come out of it, thanks to Tesla Motors, is the integration of not just electric drivetrains, but also intelligent cars that can communicate with each other and also even do a lot of processing, almost artificial intelligence. And that has come a long way in just a few years and shows some really potential over the next few years as well. So Toyota had a Concept I, Fiat Chrysler had a Portal concept car, Honda had the NEUV, and Volkswagen had an ID. And also the latest version they showed at the Detroit Auto Show this week was an upgraded version of the old-fashioned Volkswagen microbus. So
I saw that, and I love it.
Yeah,
I want
it's
one.
beautiful. Yeah, it's very modern, nice wheels, looks very futuristic, but it has the old lines of the old VW microbus from the 1960s and 70s. So that idea of taking old-style design and technologies, hinting to the past, but showing what the future of transportation can be. The other neat thing that happened last week is that over the last couple of shows at CES, Las Vegas has really been a focal point. That CES show has gotten bigger and bigger as far as automotive participation on the telematics side and on the autonomous driving side. So just yesterday, one of the companies that was exhibiting, a company called Navia, has a little electric shuttle bus called the Arma. And for the first time within this country, they are partnering with our Keolis, which is the administrator for the RTC CAT bus system. They manage the buses throughout the valley. Basically, they're going to run a pilot program with the Navia self-driving electric shuttle bus in the downtown area near the Innovation District,
cool.
close to East Fremont Street.
That's cool.
So this is Mayor Carolyn Goodman was out with a press conference yesterday, and that should show up in the newspapers today and everything. But exciting times. So that'll be the first time anybody's actually put one of these into practice. And so, as Chris knows, Nevada was the very first state to stress autonomous vehicles and allow Nevada's roads and highways, public roads and highways, to be used for testing. And you can tell an autonomous vehicle has a red license plate with a sideways infinity symbol on it. And it's the DMV created that category. So if you're going down the road and you see that as a pedestrian or a driver, you might want to make sure it's okay. But that little shuttle bus basically can seat 8 people. It's going to pretty much go between different waypoints along East Fremont District, and basically it can recharge itself through inductive charging. A little disc on the ground, it just has to find its way back to a parking space with a little disc on the ground, and it'll recharge itself within 5 minutes overnight. So that's it. A lot of exciting things happening in the valley and throughout the industry right now.
That is exciting. Thank you, Stan. And for those out there who are looking for electric vehicles, one of the big push right now is building charging stations along the highways, and they're all over the city. We've got limousines being converted to electric vehicles, and there's a big push in Las Vegas and Nevada for electric vehicles. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our show, and I thank everyone for being here today. It's been a great show, and again, tune in next week to Shades of Green at 9 o'clock and learn more about the world of green. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Paul.